morning, guys. Errol over here at Nyth. Finally, there is a new stove in my kitchen. Now, if you don't know why there wasn't one, go back and look up my stove review on my last one, which was working perfectly fine. And then when I did that review, I talked about my one issue I had with it. I've had it in here for over 3 years now, use it daily. The only issue with it was the power draw on the oven. And so I discussed that, and one of you awesome followers said, hey, that sounds like a stove that would work really well in my little place I'm building. I would buy that from you. And so that was perfect because it allowed me to buy the model I would have preferred. Since about the first week I was in here when I learned about the electrical power draw of the oven on the last one. This is by the same company. It's basically the same stove model. The only difference is the ignition on the oven. And because there's not power coming in for the ignition in the oven, it also doesn't have the little clock and timer that the other one had right here. But that's no big deal at all for me. I've got a little like a little egg timer. If I do need a timer for something, that's no problem. The other difference is this one is white and my other one was a kind of a black stainless steel look, which I really liked, and I was a little bit disappointed that this model didn't come in that color. But I was fine with that. It was worth the trade-off, and I was willing to live with this. But now that it's in here, I actually think I like it better. It goes nicely with the white cupboards. It kind of brightens up the whole kitchen a little bit. So instead of just tolerating it, I think I'm actually happier with the white after all. Anyhow, that there was supposed to be, if you've been following along, you probably know a little bit of this saga. There was supposed to be like 4, 5, 6 days where I didn't have a stove because that gentleman had time to come pick up my old one based on roads and travel and weather and all that. And I had a new one ordered, but it, due to shipping times, it wasn't going to be here quite at the same time. But that was fine. I can cook on the wood stove for a week or so, and that's no problem. That's not quite how it worked out. I've now been without a stove for most of 2 months. So what happened is the first one finally got here, a little delayed, and it was badly smashed. The entire back side was just, completely smashed in. The box was visibly punctured through from the outside. So I refused shipment, sent it back. There is a problem with freight shipping, at least in this area. I don't know if it's true of the whole country or if it's the local end here, but I've got some other friends who deal with it regularly, and almost 100% of things show up damaged in some way or another. It's kind of just whether or not it's so damaged you can't live with it. So I sent that back, contacted the company I ordered it from, which this part I'm really disappointed about because the company is, I think, fairly well known. They've been around for a while, and I really wanted to be able to recommend them to you guys because for a lot of people building tiny houses or small and not necessarily traditional dwellings, they had an awesome selection of, they've got all kinds of regular size appliances too, but an awesome selection of small, like 20-inch stoves and small range hoods and just things that would work well for that world. So I really, really was looking forward to telling you guys, go check these guys out. If you're looking for appliances for your tiny house, this is the place to go. But I cannot sadly recommend them at all. So the first time I ordered this stove, I ordered it through AJ Madison, and their fault, I'm sure, that the freight company smashed it in delivering it. But they were the ones that hired the shipper and all, and normally a company takes care of things like that and sends you a new one. So I contacted them the same day that it showed up and said, hey, this is what happened. They said, okay, that's fine, we understand, send us some pictures and we'll get it, give us a day or two to process it and we'll get a new one on the way. And I said, fine, that sounds good. A day or two later, I hadn't heard anything, so I contacted them again, and just over the next few weeks, it was super frustrating. People would not respond to my emails, so I'd be on the phone, usually a 2 or 3 hour hold to get through to somebody on the phone. And eventually, more than 3 weeks after returning the first one, I finally got through to somebody who confirmed that no, they had not actually yet even started shipping the second unit out. They had some more coming in. She thought she could get it in the mail to me soon, like within the next week. If that was acceptable. And I said, no, that's not acceptable. And so she offered to refund my money, and I said, yes, let's do that. and I will find a different seller. So I went looking for other places where I could order this online because nobody local stocks anything like this, and decided to go with the seller on Amazon because I have worked with Amazon and I know they're pretty good at making sure their sellers do follow through on things. So I reordered it. By the way, AJ Madison never did credit me for the original stove purchase, so I filed a dispute with the credit card company. I don't love credit cards, but I have one that I can make some purchases like that with. I always pay them off 10 minutes after I buy something, but it does give me the power of the credit card company to go through to dispute something like this, and the card company did refund the price to me, and they're disputing it with AJ Madison. But the whole deal was very sad. I could get no response. You know, I kept getting automated emails, which was even more frustrating, like, hey, review our purchase, hey, review your customer service, and could get no response to any of that about the fact that it all sucked. So then I was waiting on a second one to ship from the second seller and just keeping my fingers crossed that this time it would show up in one piece, because the freight shippers close to my end of things are still going to be a problem no matter who I order it from. And it finally arrived. Had to wait on that again. And the very local freight guy, before bringing it out to my house, called and said, hey, this one's damaged too. Do you want to look at it before I load it up on the truck and bring it out there? So I ran into town. The only thing damaged this time was this backsplash part, which if you pull the stove out and look behind there, it can actually unscrew. It's separate from the rest of the stove frame and is obviously not essential to the gas plumbing or anything like that. And so that seller has been so far great to work with. They just asked for a picture and they said they'll send out a new piece. This is actually the dented one. My friend helped me hammer out the dent, so it doesn't even look bad at all anymore. It did look much worse when it showed up. But anyway, that's all livable with. Nothing seemed damaged with the unit itself. So I finally had a stove, put it in here, hooked up the gas to the back of it. Now I knew that when I ordered it to start with, that stoves like this are almost always shipped out, set up for natural gas, not for propane. And I would have to switch it to work with propane because that's what I'm using. The thing I didn't pay attention to is when I'd ordered it from AJ Madison, they did supposedly include the parts to do that switch, which would have been great if the rest of the deal wasn't so terrible. And when I ordered this one from Amazon, those parts were not included, and that I just didn't pay attention to that. I was expecting them to be showing up with it. So once it got here and I realized that, then I had to order the little adapter parts. They're just these tiny little orifices that are basically smaller and let less gas through for propane versus natural gas. When you turn it on with natural gas orifices in and you're running propane, this is what you get. You do not want big yellow flames like that and smoky tips and all of that. Once you switch them out, which is just a little bit of a process, nothing very difficult. I'm a little bit impressed with myself that I could read the directions and figure it out. This whole stove top lifts off, and then you have to flip something in the regulator right here to switch between natural gas and propane, and then there's 4 little spots where the gas lines feed into each of the 4 burners, and you just got to unscrew that little piece and put the new one in. That takes care of the whole stove top. And then for the oven, it's just a little more complicated. You got to take the trays out, lift the oven bottom out, and unscrew one part of the burner down there to get to that little orifice to change it to. But that was not as big of a deal as I was afraid it was. So now they do, everything does still ignite without needing a lighter. There's a little pair of 9-volt batteries down the bottom there that goes to the wiring and lets it light up just like that. You can see now I have a nice blue flame, no big yellow smoky flames. And so my burners light right up, the oven lights right up, and so far I think I'm really happy with this. I can now bake something for hours and know that I am only burning propane and not draining my whole battery bank. So for me, I think it's going to work really well. I will try to do a full review of this stove once I've used it for a while. I'd had more than 3 years of use on my other one before I did a review of that, and I think, to be fair, I should use this for a little while before I give it a real review. But so far, I'm happy with it. I like the way it looks in here. I like the color. I like how everything operates. I like the fact that it's not drawing off of my electricity, and I think I'm going to be very happy with it. So I'm really excited that I finally have a stove back in here, and thank you to you awesome followers and subscribers who help me out with stuff like this and just randomly offer to buy my stove so I can get the one that I would have preferred to have for the last 3 years. Even with the headache of waiting through all this time and cooking on the wood stove in the meantime and such, I think it's going to totally be worth it, and I'm still glad I did it. I don't regret that. And on the note of you awesome subscribers, I want to show you guys. I've gotten quite a few really amazing gifts, like directly to my PayPal account from some of you guys that are super helpful with things like buying orifices to put in my new stove and that kind of thing. So thank you very much to everybody who has done that, and that's just that makes a huge difference around here, more than you guys know. Then I got a package at the post office that I wasn't expecting at all, with this beautiful blanket that is handmade from the whole way from Cyprus, from one of you subscribers who made this for me and sent it to me. And she said she picked the blue to match my curtains and the white for the snow and the gray for my house. And so she ended up with one that is all of my favorite colors. I'm a little picky about the colors I like, and that's why my house is whites and blues and browns and basically all neutral colors. Some green houseplants, like my lemongrass over here. So that's gorgeous. Thank you very, very much. And yeah. Oh, and then I want to say this without offending anybody, because this is really cool. Before too many people get the idea to send me things like this, just because it takes up space, and I do live in a tiny house, so large physical objects at some point, no matter how cool they are, do end up getting in the way. If you guys are really dying to do something that's helpful for me here, I'm not asking anybody to. I just have people contacting me constantly, and I'm replying to emails and stuff about what can you do. Yes, donations to my PayPal account, that is awesome. That all goes into projects around here and saving up to do projects on my new homestead and stuff like that. But if you prefer to do physical things and something that's not disposable, consumable, like I empty a jar of honey and whatever, I thought to answer people's questions, I'd try making a Amazon wish list. So I'm going to link that down below. I'm not asking for you guys to do this stuff or whatever, but I'm just trying to, if you want to, if you are really comfortable yourself, if you value the info and like following the channel and the work that goes into that and all that, if you're interested, you can check that out. I just put little things on that wish list. I live in a fairly rural area. There's a lot of things I can't get here, and so a lot of things I do buy through Amazon, and some are just things that I go through all the time. Like I buy half gallons of coconut oil and I use it all the time. So if you're just, like I said, only if that's something you're already wanting to do, and if you're really comfortable, that would give you a little list of things that I would actually use around here, so that I don't end up with a house full of awesome, amazing gifts that eventually become actually in the way because I only have, so many square feet in here. But thank you to my friend in Cyprus who made this for me, and all of you other very generous people who have sent encouraging letters and emails and notes and gifts, and that's just, that's really amazing. Thank you guys. Thanks for watching, folks. If you're interested in more info on my off-grid tiny house life, check out some of my other videos here. And if you like what you're seeing, click the little picture of my house to subscribe, and then hit the little bell so YouTube actually notifies you every time there's a new video available. See y'all next time.